Mariners made a bunch of picks today on day 2. 8, I believe, and all 8 are college players. 7 of them, are college pitchers. The one exception is going to be a bat from, don't spoil it. I'm going to talk to you about him. I'm only going to talk about 4 players that they took today. The other 4, I just didn't get enough reports on. Sorry. In my days of when I was a professional MLB draft reporter, yeah, I would be able to give you reports on all these guys pretty easily. But unfortunately, that's not really my full-time job anymore, for better or worse. Better. But I definitely, am in touch and watch as much video as anybody else. So I feel comfortable talking to you about 4 players. And that start with their pick at 91, Hunter Cranton, a pitcher out of Kansas. One of the oldest players in the draft. It's kind of funny. I tweeted or posted or zip-zorped or whatever the heck you're supposed to call it now, just hoping to see a prospect that was born before I graduated from high school. And I got one. I don't think I'll get one for a long time after this. But Hunter Cranton was born October 24th, 2000, so he'll turn 24 this year. I graduated in 2001. Time is just a real jerk. Hunter Cranton is pure reliever, but maybe a really, really good one. His fastball is impressive. It gets into triple digits. This is from MLB.com, but his heater ranked in the top 1% among college pitchers this spring in chase rate, 32%, swing and miss rate, 38%, and in-zone swing and miss rate. So even when he was throwing it for a strike, 3 out of 10 times hitters were swinging and missing at it. There's good carry to the pitch. I think this could be an 80-grade fastball. With some, mechanical adjustments, I think that this could be an 80-grade fastball, but as he is right now, it's plus. He also has a good slider, 91 miles per hour at times. It's like 86, 88 most of the time. Really good pitch as well. A little bit behind the fastball. If it wasn't a little bit behind the fastball, you think he's available in the 3rd round? No. Even as a pure reliever. And he is a pure reliever. There's no 3rd pitch here. He has some command issues. Controls generally good enough. I think with some adjustments, I think Hunter Cranton could be a closer, or at least a high leverage reliever. He's someone I'm going to be following close. And because of his age and because of his success, and let's keep in mind, he did this in the Big 12. The Big 12 is a good college baseball program. So I'm very curious to see how fast Hunter Cranton can advance. But at in the 3rd round, you're going to see him ranked nowhere near the top 100 of a lot of lists. I would disagree with that. He would be in my top 100, and I thought that was a really nice piece of business for the Seattle Mariners. I like their pick in the 4th round as well. Josh Caron, a catcher out of Nebraska. He appeared in 60 games for the Corn Huskers. Always have to be careful with that one. I often want to say a different word. Hit 308, 388, 579 in 60 games with 16 homers, and he added 3 stolen bases for good measure. So with Caron, the reports and based on the film that I've watched as well, there's no standout tool, but there's no real weak tool either. Everything has a chance to be average. And when everything has a chance to be average, if you can reach those 50s, if you can reach 4 50s, and you can play behind the plate, you're an MLB player. In fact, you may even be a starting catcher. I was surprised that he didn't go earlier just because of the advanced skill set of him. I thought he would be someone who might make sense in the top 75 or so, but I think Seattle's pretty fortunate to get him at 121. I don't think he's going to be anything close to a star. You usually don't get star-like players in the 4th round. It happens, but it's usually from results rather than process. He's a nice piece. He's a nice piece to add to the system. I think both of these guys will be in my top 25 prospects. Certainly the 2 guys who were drafted today as well will belong on that list. But yeah, Josh Caron's a nice little player. Talk about a couple more players. And again, I wish I could give you a report on all of these guys, but it would be irresponsible. I would be completely talking out of my you-know-what if I told you much more. But there's a couple guys I do feel confident talking about. And one of those players is Brock Moore, the Mariners, I believe, 7th round draft pick. Let's confirm that. Yep, 213th overall. He is a right-hander out of the University of Oregon. Before that, He was at NAIA. I believe it's Menlo was the school that he was at. Let's just confirm looking at the stats. Bada boom, bada bing. All right. So 17 appearances for the Ducks, had a 5.81 ERA. Not terribly impressive. Gave up 28 hits. Not good. Not great, you know, or not horrible, but not good. 20 walks, which is very bad. But he also struck out 52. And this is a player who hits his fastball into the high 90s. 6'5", 250-pound size. It's an intriguing option with that late of a draft pick. Like, again, this is a senior sign who couldn't even put up an ERA below 5 in the Pac-12. So I'm not expecting fireworks, but at the same time, you have a good fastball, you've got a slider, and you've got a change. Maybe you give him a chance to start. I wouldn't. I would just move the arm to the bullpen. Another one of the older players in the draft. Another one who was born before I was drafted, May 17th, 2000. Before I was drafted. Come on, Chris. I wish I was drafted in MLB. I wish I was drafted in MLB. I don't wish I had been drafted in that other thing. Worth the risk at 6'6", 230 pounds. And in fact, I would ask you, what risk? You might as well take a chance on an arm like this. Somebody who's not going to cost much more than slot, if he even costs more than slot. A very nice little piece of business, despite those numbers. I had an area scout talk about him that suggested that there is a bright future. And speaking of, or bright future is a little too strong a word, but suggested that there is more there than meets the eye. The other player that I was going to talk about is from North Carolina. It's Anthony D'Onofrio. He is a fourth-year player out of the University of North Carolina, as I just said. A lot of people thought this was one of the better senior bats, and I was a little surprised that he lasted all the way to the 10th round, 303rd pick, hit 326, 435, 537 for North Carolina this spring. Those are pretty good numbers. Solid pop with the bat, good bat speed. Good outfielder, can play all three of the outfield positions. I can see this being a fairly quick move up. And hey, guess what? It's another player drafted after I graduated, born before I graduated from high school, June 28th, 2000. Mariners went really old in this draft. So, you know, probably just a bench bat, but in the 10th round, I thought he was a really nifty little piece. Bats left, throws right. Just the fact that he could play all over the place, can run a little bit. It's a nice little get. I don't expect any type of fireworks again, but if you can get guys who can maybe reach the majors in the 10th round, you've done really well. The other names of the guys they drafted, and I'm just not familiar enough with them to talk to you about them. Charlie Bellinson, a pitcher out of Duke. Grant Knipp, a two-way player, and they did specify that he was a two-way player, out of Campbell University. Will Riley out of VMI. Boy, it seems like they draft a lot of guys out of VMI. Aiden Butler, a pitcher out of Polk State. Yep, Polk State apparently is a real place. So, yeah, probably not the most exciting video. I'm talking about 4 players and really only 2 of them. You know what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to be nice. But this is what happens when you go high upside and it's not because the Mariners are cheap. It's not because nobody wants to spend the money. There are reasons to complain about that stuff, and we will complain about that stuff when the time is right. This is not that case. This is league rules that suggest that you only have a certain amount of allocated funds to spend, or else you risk giving up a draft pick next year, and you don't want to give up a draft pick next year. Not just because it could be a good draft. It just really hurts you. It's not good to not have draft picks. You can quote me on that. Please hit like, please hit subscribe. Yeah, wish it was a more exciting video. I will say this. I want to announce 2 things, and this will be in a reward to people who paid attention to this stuff. Number 1, if you subscribe to Mile Y Enthusiasts, you're going to get a video on Wednesday where I get a report from a scouting director on the top 5 draft picks that the Seattle Mariners made. I'm going to try to make it 10, but I'll guarantee you the top 5 for the Seattle Mariners. And on Wednesday at 1:05 on KJR, I'm going to be interviewing Justin Hollander to talk about the draft and the second half of the season. I am so excited. And I really appreciate Justin taking the time to do this because it means a lot. It means a lot to get the chance to talk to a general manager of a baseball team on the radio. It's pretty cool. I think it's pretty cool anyway. Anyway, do all that good stuff. Mariners got better today. How much better? Questionable, but they got better today.